standing in line for hours to pay their respects to Pope Francis, some coming from thousands of miles away. But in a few hours, this area will truly transform. We can expect hundreds of thousands of people to fill this square as they say their final farewell to their beloved Pope at tomorrow's funeral. World leaders are already starting to arrive, including President Trump, who landed here late today. And of course, when the ceremony ends, the next chapter begins as the cardinals gathered here from around the world set out to elect their next holy leader during the elusive and secretive process known as the conclave. I'm joined now by Deborah Luboff. She's an NBC News Vatican analyst and a contributor who's been helping us out so much during our coverage here. Deborah, so great to see you tonight on Top Story. Talk to our viewers. Point out some things that you're going to be looking for during that funeral that will sort of separate this one and show how Pope Francis put a stamp on it.
Well, certainly Pope Francis has always been sort of the Pope of simplicity. He's been so humble, and he basically revolutionized the idea of the papal funeral by certainly maintaining past traditions, but really streamlining it, making it much more simple so that it's not so much about a sovereign, but about being about a pastor who Pope Francis really had shown to be. So that's what I'm really going to be noticing.
How is he doing that? Like, how will people notice that in the Mass?
Well, if you were to look at the liturgical text from the original version to what it became with Pope Francis, the length is significantly reduced. And for instance, he's even with the Litany of Saints. So when you hear the people praying to saints, he's added some of the saints that are closer to him that in a more personal way, which is very moving. And even some of the popes, like even John Paul II, who he had canonized, is now going to be among that. So we're going to see some of those elements, for instance.
You know, some of the most powerful moments of tomorrow will likely come in that procession through Rome. People lining the streets, that's what we're expecting, and heading to the Basilica where he will be entombed there. What are you looking out for in those moments?
Well, it's going to also be very moving because Pope Francis had such a pastor's heart for the poor and the needy and the marginalized. So even when his body will reach that basilica that you mentioned, Santa Maria Maggiore in the center, there will be poor people there to be there at that moment when his body arrives before his burial. So that's going to be very moving. And even when the motorcade goes through Rome, it may pass by the Colosseum. So it's going to be very visually evocative.
Yeah, and then finally, the conclave. We expect the College of Cardinals to make that announcement sometime after the funeral. How quickly do you think we'll hear about that, and how quickly do you think the conclave will start?
Oh, I don't. That's a guessing game. Who knows? But at the same time,
hey, that's why you're here.
But at the same time, certainly, all of these cardinals, many of them have to go back eventually to their diocese, etc. So I think they're not going to be looking to draw things out. They want to go back to their people, but they also will be hoping the Holy Spirit guide them toward the right person.
It could start as early as the second week of May, possibly, right? As early as that.
It could start even toward the end of the first week.
Potentially. Okay.
The rule is that a conclave would need to start between 15 and 20 days after the death of a pope. And then Benedict has slightly amended that, saying that if everyone agreed to start a little sooner, that could happen too.
Okay.
But generally, that 15th day is when things normally could start to happen.
Deborah, so great to have you here. And I know you're going to be with us tomorrow during the funeral as well in that special coverage. Again, we thank you for joining Top Story tonight. We're going to have much more from here at the Vatican later in this broadcast, including a new interview with a man who sort of defined one of the Pope Francis's biggest moments, a young boy after he asked the Pope whether his father was in heaven. But for now, we want to go back to Stephen Romo in New York for some of the other stories we're tracking today. Stephen?
All right, we don't want to miss that one. Tom, thanks. We want to turn now to Top Story's news feed, beginning with a manhunt underway in New York City after a commuter was fatally stabbed on a subway platform during rush hour. Police say a fight started on the train after one passenger stepped on another's shoe. That spilled out onto the Brooklyn Bridge City Hall subway platform, where the 38-year-old victim was stabbed twice in the chest. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. And a sad update to a story we brought you earlier this week. A Princeton student has been found dead after he was reported missing last Saturday. A Princeton spokesperson saying 23-year-old Lauren Blackburn was discovered in a lake next to the university this morning. Crews began a water search on Monday after Blackburn's phone was found pinging near the lake. He was set to graduate next year. So far, there have been no reports of foul play. A former Disney employee is facing 3 years in jail after he altered the menus at Florida's Disney World. Court documents saying Michael Schur hacked into Disney's computer system to change menu prices, add profanity, and change allergy information. Before Schur was fired by Disney for misconduct, he was responsible for creating and publishing those menus. He pleaded guilty to the hacking and was ordered to pay more than $600,000 to those victims. And NFL legend Warren Moon giving the Tennessee Titans new quarterback the surprise of a lifetime. Video showing Moon giving #1 draft pick Cam Ward his blessing to wear his formerly retired #1 Titans jersey. Ward set single-season records for passes and touchdowns while playing for the Miami Hurricanes. Moon's #1 jersey was retired back in 2006 when he was inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. Well, in New York today, the former Congressman George Santos sentenced to more than 7 years in federal prison. That's after he pleaded guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. The judge handing down the maximum sentence, saying that Santos, who has been caught in lie after lie over the course of his career, did not show remorse for what he'd done. NBC's Rahima Ellis reports.
Back up.
Disgraced former Congressman George Santos once again surrounded by a crush of cameras, walking into a federal courthouse in Long Island, New York.
Back up, everybody, back up!
Where inside he was sentenced to 87 months, more than 7 years in federal prison.
He told lie after lie until it caught up with him, until we caught up with him.
Santos, who sobbed before the judge out of the view of cameras, had pushed for the mandatory minimum sentence of 2 years after pleading guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft last summer.
I know that my actions have caused disappointment, frustration, and a loss of faith in me, and for that I'm truly sorry.
But prosecutors argued he was never truly remorseful for his actions, which included COVID relief fund fraud and credit card fraud.
He went so far as to seek out elderly people who suffered from cognitive impairment and dementia.
Pants on Fire.
Citing his recently launched podcast called Pants on Fire, which they called a tone-deaf effort to continue turning lies into dollars.
You know when I used to drink Appletinis? Back in 2009 when they were still relevant.
In 2023, Santos became just the 6th person to be expelled from the House of Representatives after serving his Long Island district for just over a year. A House Ethics Committee doing its own investigation, finding he used campaign contributions for personal expenses, including Botox treatments and payments to the adult website OnlyFans.
I just discovered what OnlyFans was about 3 weeks ago.
From the outset, Santos's political career was riddled with lies and controversies, ranging from the mundane to the absurd.
Did I embellish my resume? Yes, I did. And I'm sorry.
From falsely claiming his mother died in the 9/11 terror attacks.
My parents were both down there the day of the attacks, and fortunately none of them passed.
To waving away claims he performed as a drag queen in Brazil.
I was young and I had fun at a festival.
After his departure from the halls of the Capitol.
My fellow Americans, it is I, George Santos, former congressman from the 3rd District of New York.
Santos pivoted to selling personalized videos on the website Cameo, claiming to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in profits.
Stop the deception!
But today, he had no words for reporters or protesters as he left the courthouse in silence.
Stop the deception!
And Rahima Ellis joins us now from in studio. Not the news that Santos wanted to hear today. We did see that video of him walking out of court. Do we know when he'll have to show up to start serving that sentence?
We do indeed. He is on bond for now, but he's expected to surrender to authorities on July 25th to begin serving that 87-month prison sentence that he was handed today.
All right, Rahima, thank you. Turning now to top stories, Global Watch. Tensions escalating between India and Pakistan as soldiers briefly exchanged gunfire in the disputed Kashmir region. This comes after a mass shooting left 26 tourists dead in Indian-controlled Kashmir on Tuesday. India is blaming Pakistan for what it's calling cross-border terrorism. Pakistan has denied any connection, and a previously unknown militant group is now claiming responsibility. Both countries are taking retaliatory measures, including revoking visas. And Brazil's former president, Fernando Collor, is behind bars 2 years after he was convicted for corruption charges. The Supreme Court ordering him to be arrested and begin serving a prison sentence stemming from that 2023 conviction. He was found guilty of money laundering and receiving millions in dollars in bribes from a then subsidiary of a state-run oil company. Collor has sentenced to 8 years and 10 months in prison, but his lawyers had been requesting appeals since the trial. He served as president from 1990 to 1992. And the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure, is taking on a whole new meaning, and not a good one. A Dutch town hall says they likely threw away a print by iconic artist Andy Warhol. The 1980 silkscreen of former Dutch monarch Princess Beatrix is just one of dozens of missing works. Officials say they believe the pieces were accidentally disposed of with bulky waste. And Dutch authorities say they do not expect that art will be found. Well, tomorrow begins another round of talks between the U.S. and Iran over that country's nuclear program. Tonight, our Richard Engel is the only Western reporter inside Iran. Richard has visited many times, but this time he found a country in transition in ways that may surprise most Americans.
Much of the world only knows Iran for its military. Its missile strikes on Israel, its anti-American rhetoric, and strict Islamic laws. But there is another Iran few people get to see. It's difficult to gain access here, especially for journalists. Reporting visas are rare, but the view is worth it and is surprising. It's 9 a.m. and Iran's national women's hockey team is training hard. Even though this is the only rink in Tehran, the team is going from strength to strength. Last year, they won the Asian Cup.
Do you think the outside world understands Iran, understands what this place is really like for women?
I think they can understand, but it is one of our most important purpose to show the other countries and to show the world how much our women are capable and what they're capable of.
Iranians are far more multidimensional than how they're generally portrayed. And change is happening. On the streets of the capital, Tehran, women increasingly dare not to wear the Islamic headdress or hijab. It's illegal for a woman to show her hair, but so many women are doing it, the government is doing little to stop it, at least for now. It's happening in rich and poor neighborhoods across the country. And it didn't come easily. Women protested and faced police violence until authorities relented. Iranians are seizing more personal freedoms, whether those in charge like it or not. And they're pinning their hopes that a deal with the United States on Iran's nuclear program could mean the end to sanctions that have kept Iran isolated and its economy in a prison. The Azadi Innovation Factory is known as Iran's Silicon Valley. It's full of young entrepreneurs who are working on everything from AI and fintech to web design. But for now, it's mostly just for the internal market, making it nearly impossible for startups to gain any traction. But that doesn't mean they're not trying.
What is it like living in a box?
It's really difficult to work in this situation, but if we get outside the box, we can also, have a bright future ahead of us.
What about relations with the United States, relations with Europe? What most people think of Iran, they think everyone hates the U.S., everyone hates the West.
Well, I can assure you and I can guarantee that it's completely wrong. I'm an ordinary person and we have nothing, we have like no problem with people in other countries. We would actually love to see them as, guests, as tourists here.
Iranians are proudly confident that if given a chance, this country will thrive. Even Iran's Islamic revolutionary government is showing more flexibility within limits. I was allowed into parliament, generally off limits to foreigners, let alone an American journalist. I met Ibrahim Rezai, a member of Iran's National Security Committee, who said Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon and is open to allowing inspectors.
What is Iran hoping to get out of these negotiations?
Our main demand is the lifting of all sanctions, he said.
How far do you want to push this?
We are ready for American investment in Iran. Our president has announced it, and we are ready now, he said. But I wondered if Iran's new openness will last, and why it's happening. Militarily, Iran has lost some of its most powerful allies. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad have all been either badly beaten or destroyed. Iran seems to be at a crossroads, and you can feel it in Tehran, where Iranians are pushing the boundaries.
I've been to this country a few times, but never have I seen people openly speaking from the heart in this way. What happened? What changed?
You reach to a point that you're fed up. You know, you don't want to experience more of that thing, that sanction, that misery, that thing that you know every day you have to wake up to a bad news. So someday you say, oh, enough is enough.
The government here wants a deal, wants more trade, and to stay in power. The question is, can it do them all at once? Richard Engel, NBC News, Tehran.
When we return tonight, dramatic new footage of that wild scene in L.A. Police standing off with the wife of a Weezer band member, why they opened fire on her. Plus, we'll take you back to Tom Yamas at the Vatican and the boy behind this life-changing moment with Pope Francis. We talk to Top Story about what he's doing all these years later. Back now with terrifying moments for a family in Jacksonville, Florida. A mother clinging to her children in the backseat of a car as someone gets in the front seat and tries to drive away, dragging her along with it. Bystanders racing in to help. NBC's Marissa Parra has the video and the story.
These are the moments a mother and her children narrowly escaped with their lives thanks to strangers who jumped in. Police in Jacksonville, Florida, out with new video they say shows a group of Good Samaritans stepping in to stop a man from driving off with this woman's children after a violent domestic dispute. The video blurred by police to conceal the identities of minors. You can see the moment two bystanders realize something is wrong. The car speeding away with the woman's legs dangling out the open door. They appear to yell at the driver to stop, and within moments a crowd of people descend from every angle, forcing the car to come to a halt. The group helping the mother and her children out of the vehicle. The driver seen getting out of the car to yell at the crowd before getting back in and driving away. But later that day, officers from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office catch up with him. 26-year-old Yanni Marcus Human.
He's got weed in plain view over here.
Police say they found marijuana in his car, along with 2 magazines of .45 caliber ammunition. He's charged with 5 counts, including child neglect and false imprisonment, both felonies. According to the police affidavit, the incident began with a domestic dispute when Human and the victim, who were in a relationship, were driving to the DMV. The affidavit says that he hit her in the face while driving and became even more enraged when they arrived late to their appointment. She tried to get out of the car with her children, just 6 months and 2 years old. That's when Human grabbed her and tried to drive away, dragging her and one of the children through the parking lot. Human has pled not guilty to all charges and is out on bond before a pretrial hearing next week. A potential tragedy averted by bystanders who didn't stand by. Marissa Parra, NBC News.
Now to the new images of the shooting involving Los Angeles police and the wife of a Weezer band member. Surveillance video, body camera footage, and 911 calls show how the bizarre confrontation unfolded as police searched for a hit-and-run suspect in a totally unrelated case. NBC's Dana Griffin has this report.
Drop the gun! You're gonna get shot!
Tonight, newly released footage showing the heart-pounding standoff between Los Angeles police.
It's the police! Drop the gun!
And Julian Schreiner, a best-selling author and wife of Weezer bassist Scott Schreiner.
Is there another entryway?
The confrontation unfolded last month in her Los Angeles backyard.
Shots fired, shots fired.
As officers were in the neighborhood searching for suspects involved in an unrelated hit and run on a nearby freeway. One of those suspects seen here running through backyards. Look as surveillance video released by LAPD captures Schreiner walking in her backyard, a gun in her right hand.
Put it down on the ground!
For several minutes, officers yell from behind a fence.
Yeah, put the gun down, okay?
Repeating commands to drop the weapon.
Hey, she just pointed it. Not at us, but she just lifted it up.
Instead, in this video, zoomed in and annotated by police, they say she racked the gun, pointed at them, and fired.
Oh, she racked it?
Police fire several rounds hitting Schreiner, who appears to calmly walk away from the officers. Police say this 911 call was placed after the shooting.
She says there were 3 men and one of them shot her, and the cops are looking for him right now.
Police have not identified the 2 people speaking to the dispatcher.
I had my gun.
Okay.
And he said, put down that gun, put down that gun. I said, put down your gun.
Oh,
and then he shot me.
Police say Schreiner surrendered to officers an hour later. She's seen in this body camera footage lying face down in the middle of the street, arms stretched out wide. She's injured but alive.
She shot on her arm. Do you want to cuff her?
Officers approach and handcuff her.
Which are they handling back now?
2 officers fired those rounds, hitting Schreiner in the shoulder, police say. No one else was hurt. The 51-year-old was treated at a hospital and booked on suspicion of attempted murder of an officer.
And Dana Griffin joins us now from Los Angeles. Dana, we're also getting news about the physical evidence police allegedly recovered at the scene. What are we learning?
Yeah, so Stephen, investigators say they recovered a Glock 9mm handgun Schreiner was armed with, as well as a spent casing you see here on your screen. Jail records show that Schreiner posted a $1 million bond and is due in court April 30th. So far, no criminal charges have been filed by prosecutors who are still reviewing the evidence in this case. Schreiner's manager telling NBC News she has no comment at this time. Stephen?
Reporting for us, Dana Griffin, thank you. When we return, we take you back to the Vatican and the moment with Pope Francis that inspired the world. We speak to the young boy at the center of it.
And we're back now here outside the Vatican with Pope Francis's funeral now just hours away. Hundreds of thousands have passed through St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects and remember the pontiff. And since the Pope's death, a moment from years ago has been shared around the globe once again. It involves the Pope, a young boy, and a simple question. That young boy is now a young man, and our Ann Thompson spoke to him today.
At an ordinary parish in Rome, far from the grandeur of the Vatican, 8-year-old Emanuele Balderi was scared and emotional. Mourning his father, he had a question only Pope Francis could answer.
I asked him whether he was in hell or in heaven, because he didn't believe in God, but I think he was a good man.
Today, at the same cement soccer pitch in Rome,
I was right there,
where the Pope called to him
Vieni.
And embraced him as he whispered the question, the now 16-year-old says it was like talking to his grandfather.
He tried to comfort me, to make the weight feel easier on me.
Did it change your life?
It did change my life. It made my faith stronger.
Francis told the boy, even if his father didn't believe, because he had had his children baptized, it was enough. As Emanuele wept, Francis asked the crowd if God would abandon his father. The Pope said, Emanuele, you have your answer. Emanuele never saw Francis again, although he heard from others that the Pope asked about him.
I think of him as a gentle person who wasn't afraid to act.
An act and answer that changed this life forever.
Ann Thompson joins us now here at the Vatican. Ann, what an interview. And I got to tell you, watching that interview and growing up Catholic and obviously spending a lot of time in Mass, a lot of times it can be fire and brimstone, right? You're constantly reminded you have to repent for your sins. But here in this moment, is it fair to say it was a defining moment for Pope Francis? You saw him as somebody who was not going to judge someone who was going to heal this little boy and help him out.
I think more than a defining moment, it was a typical moment in the Francis papacy. I have traveled with him all around the world, and I've seen this time and time again, especially when it comes to children. And Emanuele believed, just like an 8-year-old, that his father, because he was an atheist, that he was going to burn in hell, and he knew his father was a good man. And Pope Francis treated him like an equal, he said. He said, I never felt like I was talking to the head of the Catholic Church. I felt like I was talking to a friend. And explained very clearly that because his father loved him, and though he didn't believe in the Catholic faith, he had Emanuele and his brothers and sister baptized. And that act, as Pope Francis told him, was harder for a non-believer than a believer. And God has a father's heart, he told them, and no father would abandon his child. And his father, I like to think today that maybe Emanuele's father is talking to Pope Francis in heaven.
What a beautiful sight and vision to think about as we wrap up our show tonight. But I hope so too, Ann.
Yeah.
We thank you so much, Ann, for that. And we thank you for watching this special edition of Top Story live from the Vatican. A reminder that our coverage of Pope Francis's funeral starts tonight at 4 a.m. Eastern right here on NBC News Now. I'm Tom Yama. Stay right there. More News Now on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Everyone has two chapters in their lives. Before their first Big Mac and after their first Big Mac. Spoiler, the best chapter is the last. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
That's right.
Everyone has two chapters in their lives. Before their first Big Mac and after their first Big Mac. Spoiler, the best chapter is the last. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Reels, shorts, stories. Everywhere you look, short videos have taken over social media. And right now, there's one platform that dominates: TikTok.
I'm scrolling every single day. I doom scroll all the time.
I'm checking constantly throughout the day.
I'm fully addicted to TikTok. I spend a lot of time on the app, and I think it's because they're so good at giving you content that directly matches what you're interested in.
TikTok is the center of the internet for young people. It's where they go to be entertained. It's where they go to keep up with the news. It's where they go to find out about trends. They go to search for things and shop, and the list goes on.
Since 2016, TikTok has grown to over 1.12 billion monthly active users worldwide. In the US, nearly 118 million people use TikTok frequently, spending an average of 108 minutes per day on the app.
I'm properly consuming content on TikTok, yeah. At least 3 hours each day.
That kind of engagement has made short videos a multi-billion-dollar industry. Now platforms like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and even LinkedIn are racing to catch up.
Short form video, that's kind of like the bite-sized version of video, what's consumable when you're looking at your phone, maybe you're waiting in line to grab some food somewhere or something. It just seems to be the right format for video in social media.
Short-form videos aren't just popular, they're transforming the way we consume content by being fast, addictive, and algorithm-driven.
The algorithm has also been the envy of many other social platforms, including Meta, which has been updating its content recommendation systems to be more similar to TikTok's. And the algorithm is also what has drawn and continues to draw a lot of especially aspiring creators to the app.
They went all in on short form video when others weren't really touching it. Famously, Twitter had short form video first with Vine, but for whatever reason they gave up on it. And so that created a vacuum that TikTok really went into. And definitely the algorithm that they have seems to do a really good job at understanding what folks are interested in. And that has been difficult for others to replicate.
But why are these videos so addictive? It comes down to three key factors: speed, personalization, and infinite scrolling.
I love that the platform feels like a very strong community. The algorithm is really great at spreading information quickly and things that are relevant to you.
Generally, when I speak to teens, what I hear from them is that they feel like the videos that they are being shown on their feeds on TikTok are particularly compelling. They feel like TikTok has a better sense of what they want to see than they do themselves.
Unlike traditional posts or long-form videos, short videos deliver quick dopamine hits, a fast-paced mix of entertainment, education, and trends that keep users engaged for hours.
Infinite scrolling in short form is a method where just capturing your attention becomes the important thing, and doing so in very short bursts. Whereas in the past, entertainment, TV, radio, plays, they're about capturing an audience's attention by being interesting and grabbing your attention to go on the journey of that show or that particular play. Whereas now it's almost as if we can just get a few seconds of your attention and lock you into this, and then we'll send you another thing that you seem to like through the algorithm.
The numbers tell the story. TikTok's success has forced many other social media platforms to adapt. Meta-owned Instagram launched Reels in August 2020. Google-owned YouTube introduced Shorts in India in September 2020 after the country banned TikTok, and it launched in the US in 2021. Facebook followed with its own version of Reels that year. And LinkedIn began experimenting with short-form video in early 2024, hoping to tap into the format's popularity for professional content and industry insights.
I have been using YouTube Shorts a lot, the past few months especially, and even just in the past month, my views have been up over 700%. So I do think it's becoming a lot more popular.
I think Meta launching Reels and YouTube launching Shorts, it was smart for them to, recognize that short form was taking off, especially when it happened, which was in the early, part of 2020 when pandemic lockdowns began and people were looking for things to do online and on their phones. I do still think that they're behind compared to where TikTok is. But, it's better to have some sort of offering here than nothing at all.
Videos on Facebook and Instagram now represent more than 60% of time spent on both platforms. Reels alone makes up 50% of total time users spend on Instagram and are reshared over 4.5 billion times a day on the platforms. To attract more creators, Instagram has doubled down on Reels with new tools such as 3-minute Reels, trial Reels, and more editing tools. Meta's head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, hinted in the past that Reels may even become its own app, but Meta did not give a time frame on when or if this will happen. As competitors try to catch up to TikTok, the Chinese-owned app continues to evolve with features like TikTok Shop, longer videos, and more analytic tools for influencers. Meanwhile, LinkedIn is testing a new TikTok-style short-form video feed. Creators on LinkedIn are monetizing through multiple streams of income: brand partnerships, speaking gigs, client leads, courses, and digital products.
There's a gold mine happening on LinkedIn right now. I would post a video on TikTok. The very same video will get 400 views. And I'll post it at